Imagine a world where everything you believe about money feels stable, predictable, and directly connected to effort, where each morning begins with the assumption that income is earned through work, skill, and time, and that the system, while not perfect, is at least understandable. Yet beneath that familiar surface exists a deeper layer of reality, one that operates quietly in the background, shaping outcomes in ways that most people never stop to question, influencing not only how money moves through the economy, but also how much that money is truly worth over time. And as you settle into this journey with careful click, allow yourself to slow down just enough to see what is often missed, because understanding money is not just about numbers, it is about seeing the system behind the numbers and recognizing how it affects every part of your life. There have been many moments in modern history when governments step forward and announce massive spending plans. Numbers so large they almost lose meaning, billions and sometimes trillions of dollars introduced into the economy with the goal of supporting growth, stabilizing markets, or responding to crises. And while these actions are often explained in simple terms, they raise a deeper question that rarely gets enough attention, which is where all this money actually comes from. Because governments do not simply rely on taxes alone, and they do not operate like households that must earn before they spend. Instead, they function within a financial system that allows money to be created, expanded, and directed in ways that are not always visible, but are incredibly powerful in shaping economic reality. To understand how governments print money, it is important to first let go of the common image of physical printing presses producing stacks of cash, because while physical currency still exists, it represents only a small fraction of the total money supply. And in today's world, most money is created digitally through systems that connect central banks, commercial banks, and financial institutions. And at the center of this process is the central bank, an institution responsible for managing a country's monetary policy, influencing interest rates, and maintaining economic stability, often operating with a level of independence that allows it to focus on long-term outcomes rather than short-term pressures. Now, imagine a situation where the economy begins to slow down, businesses reduce spending, hiring slows, and uncertainty spreads, creating a cycle where less spending leads to less income, and less income leads to even less spending. And in moments like this, the central bank steps in to encourage activity, often starting by lowering interest rates, making borrowing cheaper so businesses can invest and individuals can spend. But when that is not enough, the central bank turns to more direct methods of increasing the money supply. And this is where the concept of money creation becomes clearer. For example, consider a government that needs funds to build infrastructure, support healthcare, or provide economic relief during a crisis. If tax revenue is not enough, the government issues bonds, which are essentially promises to repay borrowed money with interest, and investors such as banks and institutions buy these bonds, providing the government with funds. But in certain situations, especially during economic downturns, the central bank itself buys these bonds using money that it creates digitally, meaning that new money is introduced into the system without coming from existing savings. And once this happens, that money begins to flow through the economy, reaching banks, businesses, and eventually individuals. At first, this can feel like a positive shift because more money in the system often leads to more activity, businesses expand, jobs are created, and opportunities increase. And to make this more relatable, imagine a small town where everyone is trading goods and services with a fixed amount of money, and then suddenly more money is added into that town. People can spend more, businesses can grow, and everything feels more active. But over time, as more money continues to circulate without a matching increase in goods and services, prices begin to rise. And this is where inflation comes into play, gradually reducing the purchasing power of money so that the same amount buys less than before. You can see this in everyday life. For example, when the cost of food, housing, or transportation increases over time, even if your income stays relatively the same. And this is one of the most important effects of money creation, because it does not just increase the amount of money in the system, it changes the value of money itself. And it also redistributes value, often benefiting those who own assets like real estate or stocks, which tend to rise in value during periods of increased money supply, while those relying on fixed incomes or savings may find it harder to keep up with rising costs. As you continue to think about this, it becomes clear that money is not distributed evenly when it is created. Those closest to financial systems often receive it first, gaining access to opportunities earlier, while others experience its effects later, often through higher prices rather than increased income. And this uneven flow shapes economic outcomes in ways that are not always obvious but are deeply impactful. And when you zoom out even further, you begin to see how this process is not limited to one country. Because global economies are interconnected, money flows across borders through trade and investment. And decisions made in one part of the world can influence conditions in another. At the human level, these changes influence behavior. When money is easier to access and borrowing is cheaper, people tend to spend more freely, take on more risk, and assume that growth will continue, which can lead to cycles where asset prices rise rapidly, such as in housing markets or stock markets. And while this can create opportunities, it can also create challenges, especially when prices rise faster than incomes, making it harder for some people to participate in those markets. Over time, these cycles of expansion and adjustment become a natural part of the financial system, periods of growth followed by periods of slowdown. And understanding these cycles is one of the most valuable insights you can develop, because it allows you to approach financial decisions with awareness rather than reaction, recognizing patterns instead of being surprised by them. And if you are finding this perspective useful and you appreciate content that goes beyond surface level explanations, take a moment right here to give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who values understanding how money really works, because these insights become even more powerful when they are shared. As this journey continues, the goal is not just to explain how governments print money, but to help you see the system as a whole, to understand how policies, institutions, and human behavior interact to shape economic outcomes, and how this understanding can influence your own financial decisions. Because once you begin to see money as dynamic rather than static, as something influenced by decisions rather than fixed in value, you gain a new level of clarity that can guide how you save, invest, and plan for the future. And as we come toward the closing of this extended exploration, take a moment to reflect on how your perspective may have shifted, how money may no longer feel as simple as it once did, but instead appears as part of a larger system that connects individuals, institutions, and nations, shaping outcomes in ways that extend far beyond everyday experience. And if this video has added value to your thinking, this is the perfect moment to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, so you never miss future insights. Give this video a like to support more content like this, and leave a comment sharing what stood out to you the most. Because here at Careful Click, every idea is designed to help you think carefully, act wisely, and build a future grounded in understanding. And as you move forward, remember that the more clearly you understand the system, the more effectively you can navigate it, turning knowledge into one of your most valuable assets in an ever-changing financial world.